चल रहे, हम अनपढ़ आदमी हैं और क्या करेंगे हम किसी की नौकरी तो हम पे होगी नहीं, किसी की हम पे नौकरी नहीं होगी, चाहे हम 2 रुपये कमा लें 4 रुपये कमा लें, इसी में पेट भर लेंगे हम।
They weave because it is the one skill they are masters of. In fact, even today, they wish to do nothing else. They are the weavers that make up the weavers' colony in Delhi's Sundar Nagari. One of the few weaver clusters in the capital that have existed since the 1950s, when India emerged as a republic and the central government declared that the production of several handloom products as the prerogative of the handloom sector. Traditional products like border saris, dhotis and bed sheets were reserved exclusively for handlooms.
पहले ये कॉटन ही चलती, इसका काम ही सबसे ज़्यादा था और कोई पहनता ही नहीं था कुछ। अपने हाथ से कटा हुआ धागा कॉटन का उसको बनवा के पहनते थे, लेकिन हमें इसमें बड़ा इंटरेस्ट था। इसके मुकाबले में कोई काम अच्छा नहीं लगता था, क्योंकि हमें किसी की ताबेदारी नहीं थी। कोई ये नहीं थी कि हमसे कोई ये कहे भाई अभी और काम करो या तुम इतने लेट क्यों आए, कोई किसी की पाबंद नहीं। इस वजह से बहुत अच्छा लगता था। लेकिन इस समय जब ही से ये धीरे 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 पिटता ही चला गया। आज वो हालत है कि अब इसको कोई पूछने वाला ही नहीं है।
Once a thriving and prosperous weavers cluster of about 500 looms, today these lanes tell a story of loss and despair.
आज कोई क्लर्क या कोई चपरासी या वो पार्क में बैठने वाला वो अच्छा है, उसको 30-35 हज़ार मिल जाते हैं, इसको 500 रुपये नहीं मिलते। क्या अच्छा है।
The growth of the power looms in the 1980s, today supplying more than 70% of Indian textiles, according to Textile Ministry statistics, came on the heels of a systematic destruction of the handloom industry. According to official surveys published by the Development Commissioner Handlooms, this meant that over the decades, the number of weaver families went down from 124 lakhs in the 1970s to 44 lakhs in 2010. Today, most of them are out-of-job craftsmen with a bleak future, crying hoarse that despite the government starting training centers to train people in the craft, there is hardly any incentive for practicing weavers.
आजकल बिल्कुल वैल्यू ख़त्म है इसकी। क्यों कि गवर्नमेंट कोई सुनाई करती नहीं है ना हैंडलूम के ऊपर। क्या कर रही है? कहीं नहीं कुछ कर रही। वादे तो बहुत होते हैं, हम ये कर रहे हैं और उसमें क्या नाम है, ये बनारस में मैंने ये कर दिया, इतनी फैक्ट्री चला दी, मैं इनको ये दे रहा हूँ, लेकिन हमारे साथ क्या होता है? कुछ नहीं।
Ashok Kumar had been a weaver for most part of his working life. He still lives in Sundar Nagari's weaver colony, but today drives a rickshaw to keep up with his expenses.
कोई और रास्ता था ही नहीं, क्योंकि जो बुनने का काम जो था वो खाली धागे का ही था और किसी चीज़ का है नहीं। या फिर दड़ियों का काम होता था, तो दड़ियों का काम उसमें कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है करने से। जो बेडशीट थी उसी में प्रॉफिट था, इस वजह से हमने और कोई काम आया ही नहीं, क्योंकि किसी और काम करेंगे तो उसमें भी कोई प्रॉफिट नहीं था। इस वजह से हमने फिर ऑटो के बारे में सोचा, क्योंकि इसमें कुछ लगाना नहीं था। ऑटो में ऑटो खाली 200 रुपये देने और ऑटो ले आना किराए पे, 12 घंटे चला के ऑटो फिर वापसी उसी को दे देना है।
The plain cloth weavers of the Sundar Nagari clusters, like Ashok once was, further suffered because of the exponential rise of threads, from about 100 rupees to 700 in a matter of years, while rates of finished products stayed the same. Losing out on huge profit margins in addition to an already ailing industry drove many to look for alternate work. Several weavers today either pull rickshaws or work as small shopkeepers. Some have left these colonies for good.
बहुत दुख हुआ था मुझे, और दुख तो होना ही था, पर चक्कर ये है ना, पर कर भी क्या सकते हैं। अगर उसी काम को करते रहेंगे तो हमारा तो प्लॉट भी बिक जाता, सब कुछ बिक जाएगा, उसी में लग जाना था, रोड पे आ जाते हैं हम। इस वजह से क्या करते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ तो करना ही पड़ेगा। प्रॉपर्टी बचाने के लिए वो काम ख़त्म करा, फिर ऑटो चलाया, इसमें ये बच्चे पाल रहे हैं। अगर हम वो ना करते तो सब कुछ बर्बाद हो जाता।
A little over 10 kilometers away from Sundarnagri, Mohammed Naushad is working on a soft furnishing fabric for a client in Greece. This 5-meter fabric, 46-inch wide, is made completely of silk waste and is being woven in the chevron design pattern. A young weaver from Bijnor in Uttar Pradesh, belonging to a family of traditional weavers, Naushad moved to Delhi with his wife and child in 2019 to be a part of the studio. A salaried job also meant not having to struggle with the uncertainties of the trade.
बेहतर है मैम, ये बेहतर है क्योंकि इसमें जो है हमारे को ये नहीं देखना होता कि माल कहाँ से ख़रीदना है, कहाँ पर देना है, ये टेंशन नहीं रहती है। हमें सिर्फ आना है और फैब्रिक जो है तैयार करना है, उसके अकॉर्डिंग चलना है। बाकी वहाँ पे जो है सब देखना पड़ता था, क्या सामान लाना है, जो है कैसे यूज़ करना है, फिर इसको जो है कहाँ पहुँचाना है, कैसे कैसे करना है। हमारा फोकस यहाँ पे सिर्फ जो है वीविंग पे रहता है कि हमें कैसे जो है अब इसी को नए डिज़ाइन इसके बनाने हैं।
Paiwand Studio, the name originating from the phrase Paiwand Lagana, or to patch or repair, could be described as one of the many innovative efforts created by young entrepreneurs to not just breathe life back into the dying craft of handloom, but to also make fashion sustainable.
जैसे ये कर लिया, ठीक है, और फिर दोबारा आ गया, तो वेरिएशन अच्छी बैठेगी, समझ रहे हो? ठीक है, और इसमें कलर्स चेंज हो सकते हैं, वो मैं बता दूंगी कैसे। मेरे को सबसे अच्छा ये सब लगा।
Founded by fashion designer and social entrepreneur Ashita Singhal, the studio upcycles fabric waste into flat yarn to be sold back to design houses for making new garments. Collaborating with individual weavers, small-scale businesses and designers, the idea is to create repurposed fabric using quintessentially Indian handcrafting techniques like handloom weaving, patchwork, knitting and felting, thereby providing a new lease of life for skilled, often out-of-work craftsmen.
When we started interacting with them, we realized the plight that they're going through and like the working conditions. So most of the looms were in shambles and like covered in webs, and there was no work going on. In late 2018, we got 2 weavers on board from the outskirts of Delhi, convinced them to weave. First of all, like they were also, nobody had faith in this idea in the beginning because it sounded crazy to them that they have to weave fabric with textile waste. So they came for the job. We started making yardages, and luckily we had a very good, we received a very good response from the people around us. Today we have 6 looms and we are giving employment to many weavers right now. At Paiwand, we follow a comprehensive process of upcycling. So whenever we collaborate with a design house or a fashion brand, they send us the waste. It is then cleaned and assorted as per different colors and fiber types. It is then cut into strips and then woven into a new fabric. The repurposed fabric is then sold back to those designers at a higher value so that they can create a sustainable range for their clientele. So the process is very circular, so our source of raw material is also our final client.
And then you start putting it into 3D paper and then into
Founder of fashion brand Medium, Riddhi Jain, one of Ashima's clients and collaborators, emphasizes it was the shared sensibility that drew her to Paiwand.
I work with a lot of tie and dye techniques. We have a very, very strong record of the amount of wastes that we send. You know, sort of, even if she's using it, she would have a record. If I'm sending her waste, I would have a record. And by the end of it, luckily, I mean, fortunately, we had times in which the entire wastage got used up, and she asked me that, you know, do you have more wastage? And at the end of it, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling when we run out of scraps, to be honest. Which is when, you know, we actually look out for people to probably send us scrap. That's exactly what Ashita's business model is. And there have been times when we've actually spoken to each other that we can't find this particular color, you know, can we actually source it from somewhere? But yeah, I think that's pretty much the circular process.
At Paiwand, customers are also encouraged to return old products instead of discarding them, so as to close the loop on the circular economy model. Over the last 2 years of its existence, the studio has upcycled 1,500 kilograms of textile scrap, produced more than 3,000 meters of upcycled fabric, and saved more than 3 million liters of water.
For me, design is about solving problems. And the biggest problem today is of climate change. And I thought, and fashion contributes a lot towards water pollution, air pollution, and consumptions and land pollutions. During the design education only, in the classrooms, I was shocked to see in the beginning a batch of 15 students would create so much of waste within just 3 hours. Designers were conscious, they were saving their textile waste, but they did not have enough time to upcycle or recycle it, as it requires a lot of resources and energy, and fashion cycles are very busy. So I thought maybe we can work majorly on the back end and help these designers upcycle their textile waste.
To consciously fight water wastage, one of the biggest problems of the textile industry, water here is used only for cleaning purposes. The processes are also completely dye and chemical free. But as Ashita confesses, one of the biggest challenges of working with textile waste is to be able to design a product from it, keeping in mind varying properties, styles and textures. A challenge that makes every worker an equal investor in the design process.
मेरे को सैंपल बनाने में सबसे ज़्यादा मज़ा आता है। उसमें डिफ़िकल्ट जो होता है उसको करना अच्छा लगता है, एक नया काम। और चिंदी को डिज़ाइन करना तो बहुत ही मुश्किल है। और फिर जो है ये काम इसलिए अच्छा है क्योंकि वेस्टेज जो होता है उससे वातावरण में बहुत नुकसान होता है।
Working on a salaried job saves weavers like Nooshin from worrying about piece rate wages and focus fully on enhancing skills, something individual weaver communities still struggle with. At studios like Paiwand, the larger goal now is to be able to extend the conversation of sustainable fashion and circular economy to non-fashion industries as well, from sanitation to aviation, with the hope to be able to play the catalyst in collectively reducing our carbon footprint.